to our radio podcast. I'm here with my senior classmates of ANC, Zoé, Anaïs, Soan, and I, Léa. We're from the Lycée Français of Tananarive, and we're glad to host a famous photojournalist who will talk about his job and its impact in our society.
AlexanderJoe, hello. Thank you for joining us today for this interview. Where are you from and where do you live? Can you introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is AlexanderJoe. I'm Zimbabwean born, and 30 years I've been working in Zimbabwe, South Africa, Mozambique, Kenya, and so forth. And now I've retired in Madagascar.
Thank you. We wanted to ask you questions concerning your path and your studies about your job as a photojournalist. Can you highlight for us what you studied to become a photojournalist? What was your goal and what drew you to become a photojournalist?
Well, because I lived in a country with apartheid and things, where I never got the opportunity to study photography. So I'm kind of self-taught and had people guiding me along the way.
Thank you for your answer. Another question we have is, we learned thanks to what we read and you said to us before, that you were into fashion at first and you were influenced by the job of the famous British photographer David Bailey, who covered a lot of runways and fashion events. And as we know today, your interest is leaning more into rural life, but most of your life you photographed war and political struggles. So how did you get your passion in fashion into political struggles and war photos?
Well, my passion into fashion was maybe because at the time the only magazines that were available were fashion magazines, and I have sisters, so they had fashion magazines, and the idea of being surrounded by pretty women and things would have been great for me. But as I said, the social struggles in my country led me to doing social documentary, and I found out that is my true passion. My true love is social documentary and photographing the less privileged.
Another completely different question is, how do you stay update on current events and identify compelling story to covers?
Well, because I've been a former journalist, I'm always watching the news, and I'm reading things on the internet, and I still, despite living in Madagascar, I still have contact with friends out of the country. So I try to keep abreast of political and social problems around the world.
We saw the pictures that were exposed in the C-Cube as well as the ones that you showed in the conference, and we thought they were extremely meaningful and harsh. How do you handle the emotional toll of covering different difficult or tragic events?
You try to put a balance to things in life. As I told you during the talk, visual historian. So you have to take photographs. It's like someone decides to become a political leader or something sort, and they find that they have to do the job. So for me, in the sense, it's a calling. I have a gift, a talent in which to educate people to suffering from other places in the world.
Okay, so we learned that you started photojournalism at a very young age, and due to or thanks to what was going on in Zimbabwe at the time, you were sent to do the job of white journalist. So you started quite early. Have you ever faced racism in this field?
Racism is something that you can never run away from. As I was telling someone earlier today, many years ago, I went to cover a rugby game when I was working for the local newspaper. Reporters in the crowd shouted, "Hey, photographer, this is the wrong place. This is rugby is for white people and football is for black people." So they didn't realize that you can be. There's no such a thing as sport today. Most of the great rugby players are non-whites.
That's Yeah. How do you handle situations where your presence or your actions as a photojournalist can be perceived as intrusive or unwelcomed?
The thing is, as a photographer, you have a sort of gift of connecting with people. And if someone truly objects, yes, I would try and persuade them to the importance of my profession. If they really don't want, all you have to do is step back. You can't infringe on someone's privacy.
But do you ever get anxious? Yes.
I get anxious if an outsider wants to impose their thoughts on me. But if my subject doesn't mind, I'm happy with it. But if someone from the background, someone who doesn't understand what I'm doing, but just has the preconceived idea that photojournalism or photography is bad, then I would put my argument forward. Or, as I said, sometimes, once or twice, yes, I did get aggressive with people.
Do you believe that everything and anything can be photographed?
Yes, I think everything can be photographed. As I said, photography, it can be a form of recording history. So, whereas, as I said, like today we are using these microphones, and if these microphones are not photographed, in years to come when technology changes, nobody will know what sort of equipment we're using then. So photography is important for all walks of life.
So in what ways do you believe your photography has helped to shed light on important issues faced by countries in crisis?
During the show, I showed you a picture of Mozambique, of a baby under the train. That picture helped to bring the awareness of the war in Mozambique. Prior to that, Mozambique's war was being ignored by the West because Mozambique isn't a very rich country. Its sister country, Angola, which is oil-rich, people cared more about the war in Angola than the war in Mozambique.
How have social media and online platforms impacted the perception of photojournalism? How has the role of photojournalism evolved in the digital age?
The role of social journalism hasn't changed at all. It's just become more accessible with the internet and social media today than it was before. It's like today, to have an exhibition in a country is just an exhibition there. Whereas you put it on social media, a global audience can see your work.
So everyone can be a photojournalist?
But so everybody can be a photographer, but not everybody can tell the story. It's like everybody can be a student, but not everybody is going to become a great student. Or everybody can have dreams to become a president, but not everybody can become a president.
So for you, what is the meaning of photojournalism?
The meaning of photojournalism is, as I call myself, a visual historian. We are recording history, whether it be war, whether it be the release of Nelson Mandela from jail, whether it's like I covered the Miss World several times. So every girl that became Miss World during my things was being recorded. And so people will know now, in years to come, people will recall and will call visual history.
Do you have any regrets or events that you would have liked to photograph but couldn't have?
Events that I like to have photographed, I try to be a realist. If I wasn't, someone else recorded, I can't be jealous of them. I know a lot of my friends are very jealous and envious of me for being one of the photographers that photographed Nelson Mandela walking free from jail. So, but as I said, not everybody can have those privileges. So I never covered the coronation of the King of England. but I covered the coronation of the King of Swaziland. So there's various history. We live in a big world.
Yeah.
And also, how do you handle criticism or negative feedback about your work?
As an artist, criticism is good. Not everybody likes what you do, and not everybody will hate it. So without criticism, how will you learn?
Thank you.
How do you keep your feelings and your sanity, your mental health after being in those awful situations?
Well, I'm not sure if my family will tell you I'm sane. My family will tell you I'm a bit crazy. But you have to put things in perspective. For me, work is work and home is home. So I draw a line between the two. I can't bring my work home, especially my kind of work, which was blood, shit, and tears and things. So if I brought that home, I'll be imposing my family onto something unimportant to them.
I think we can wrap up now. Thank you, AlexanderJoe, for sharing your experience as a photojournalist with us. It's a fascinating job, and I hope you enjoyed this time with us, with the LFT radio, as much as we did. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure. I'm glad. No, thank you very much, and it was a pleasure. I'm glad I can inspire some young people to maybe follow the world of photojournalism.
I think you did.
Thank you.